Hi, Kimmy.
Kim. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Wanda.
6 o'clock now.
Someone else is on. Yeah, cool. Thelma.
Hey, Thelma. So we'll get started in a minute. Just going to wait for a couple more people to join the live session.
Hope y'all having warm weather.
John Michael, what's up? Connecticut is in the building. Okay, so I see we got my cousin Somadisha, hey cuz, got Reggie, got Bijou, Racine. So we got Bloomfield, Connecticut,
And
Massachusetts, New York, Rochester. It's my cousin. Atlanta. Racine, you always from Bloomfield.
She always a war hawk.
Always a war hawk. Don't even try it. But shout out to Atlanta.
Patricia's on. Hi, Patricia.
Hey, cuz. Batavia, another New York representing. We're going to get started in a minute. I'm hoping that I have invited another group, which is part of a real estate investment group that I'm part of. It's a private group, so I'm hoping that they can join, or that I was able to share this live to their page, because some of this Facebook technical stuff I'm just still kind of new to in terms of sharing live feeds. So You know, if you guys are with us and anxiously waiting, can you guys just hit the like button over and over again? That'd be like a little applause for us. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Marty.
There we go. Over and over again. Can you guys join Thelma and hitting that like button over and over again, please? Just to make sure that y'all with us. There we go. I see Patricia. All right, Racine. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you guys like something we say, hit the like button over and over again. That means we said something that resonated with you. If you guys don't like something we say, then hit the angry button. But in the meantime,
if you have a question, send it in.
Batavia's in the house again. My cousin Vera's there. So yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Again, thank you for taking your time to join our live feed again. And this live, we're going to talk about money.
Cha-ching.
So if you guys like to talk about money, let me see some likes and some loves. So do you want to
So I'll just give a little brief. So thank you for joining our All in the Familia page. For those that may not know, I'm Nydia, and this is my husband Julian. Just to give you a little bit of background on us, we were teenage parents. I was 17 and he was 19. And when we started out, you know, we didn't have much, and we worked our way. Well, we did the best we could with what we had. And we worked our way up, and it's 30 years for those that are out there. We've been together 30 years this year, and we wanted to start this page to encourage people and to let you know how we made it to where we are today. And
just to let you guys know that we have a pet name. We call each other Boo and Bae. So if you guys get confused at who's addressing who, just you have to pay attention, because I might call her Babe and she might call me Babe, and we call each other Boo. So it goes back and forth. We're kind of interchangeable.
Or my other name, Nene.
What's up, Percy? All right. So usually, if you guys followed the page, you know that we normally don't take notes, but since this is pertaining to debt and money, and how we did it, I kind of created some notes to make sure that I didn't skip anything. So this is going to be a slightly different format than what you guys are used to. So we'll start off by, Babe, can you just let them know some of the books and programs that kind of helped us?
Okay, so some of the books and programs that we watched and read are Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, George Samuel Klassen, Richest Man in Babylon, Mike Butler, Landlording on Autopilot, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Ken McElroy, The ABCs of Real Estate, Tim Wheelwright, Tax-Free Wealth, Carlton Sheets, No Money Down, Jim Rohn, YouTube audios, Dennis Waitley, The Psychology of Winning, Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret, T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and last but not least, we were also part of the CT RIA.
Yeah, so shout out to the CT RIA.
And we can post these books later on the page for those of you that can't write fast or want to know the books. I know I went fast.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys have a pen. But just a disclaimer, we are not financial advisors. All we are people who was in the bind. What's up, Lamont? People who are in the bind, and we got out of a bind, if you want to call it a bind. So we're not financial advisors. We're not giving financial advice. We're just going to let you know the bind we were in and how we got out of it and the route that we took. So if you guys have a pen and a paper and you want to take down some notes, that's great. If not, that's great. But if you know anybody that's in the bind, you may want to present some of these notes to them. And I can tell you, I know it works because we got into a bind a couple times. And also we helped my mom get out of a bind doing the same methods. So I'm going to do most of the talking on this because I handle most of the finances. One thing that I learned is being the man of the house, the alpha male, that I need to have a grip on the finances, because if I'm going out to hunt, I don't know what I'm hunting for, how much I'm hunting for, if I don't know what's going on in my house, okay? So let's just get started. So what we're going to talk about on this live, we're going to talk about how we got out of debt. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about our credit score and the importance of credit score. We're going to talk about living the paycheck to paycheck. For those of you guys that are on my private page, you guys probably seen me post something called Make It Until You Can Fake It. And I know one of the twins, Rosa Sullivan, was saying, you know, you got it backwards. And I told her no, she has to tune in for this to understand what that means. So Rosa, let me explain to you what that means. That means that, what's up, Kevin, cousin Kevin? So what Make It Until You Fake It means that what we were doing is we were making money until we got to the point that now our money is, a portion of our money is fake. And I'll explain that later. But when you have fake money, your world changes a little bit. Your world becomes a little bit more magical than just working for a living. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then the other thing that I had posted, and these were Julianisms, was sometimes you have to break some things in order to fix them. And what I mean by that is we had to break our thinking and we had to break our habits. You know, growing up a certain way, not having certain things, and you know, the way that your parents was raised is not necessarily the way that you should be raised, and the way that we were raised is not necessarily the way that we should probably raise our kids. So we had to do a lot of break it thinking. We had to be able to get out of our comfort zone and take a couple risks, and that's going to come later. So how we got out of debt. So the first thing is the first bout with debt we had was with credit cards, which is normally how most people get into debt. So when we're teens and going to college, they solicit you with credit cards first thing. So I had Citigroup and Fleet, which was Bank of America back then, and she had the store credit cards for obvious reasons, right? So what did you have? Like
Filene, Express.
Okay.
Limited.
9 West.
9 West probably.
Okay. So what ended up happening is, you know, for you guys that tuned into the last live session, you know, I mentioned that the 90s were the best times and the worst times of my life. So in order to enjoy the best times, you gotta look fresh, you know. So I had the Tommy Hilfiger. I mean, I had shirts back in 1997 and in 1997 dollars, which I don't know what it translates today, but I mean, my shirts were like $120 something minimum. Okay, so we had cars, we had, I mean, we just didn't, we were just trying to impress people that we didn't really know. We had friends that were doing the same thing, so we were keeping up with the Joneses, right? For the most part. She had 9 West, Coach, like a bunch of labels and stuff. In the meantime, we had a baby girl. So in my mind, I had 3 sources of income. I had my daytime job, which was my full-time job. I had my second job, which was short, that ran like a second shift. And then of course I had what I thought was my third income was credit cards. So credit cards, for those of you watching, is not a source of income. So you have to use them, don't let them use you, okay? So when we look back, the credit card debt that we accumulated, because we also paid for our wedding as well. We paid for our own wedding, we paid for our own honeymoon. So all of that ended up coming in and collapsing on us and just taking its toll. So we had about $17,000 worth of debt, which translates to about $27,000 worth of debt in today's dollars, okay? And the first thing we had to do was we had to admit that there was a problem. So I sat down with her, and I'm just like, you know, especially when we're living paycheck to paycheck, we couldn't wait for Friday to come, because as soon as Friday came, bills paid, check was gone. And I sat down with her, and I was just like, you know, I don't like it. You know, I mean, there was something about it that I didn't like it. So to make matters worse was, you know, we got tired of being sick and tired. And Citigroup sent a message to me, because we were paying like the minimum, which I think was like $25 for the minimum payment back then. And I missed one payment. And when I missed that payment, they hit me with a $39 late fee. Okay, and I'm thinking, I'm just like, well, you guys want me to pay $25, but you hit me with another almost $40, which didn't make sense to me. I'm just like, if anything, it should be a fraction of what I thought I owed. So that definitely ticked me off. So once we recognized there was a problem, we wrote it down, and then we kind of set a goal, and then we had to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the light at the end of the tunnel for me was, as soon as we get out of this debt, I mean, I had like diamonds in my eyes, thinking that, you know, I'm going to pay cash for everything, and also, you know, especially cars. So I don't know if you guys ever seen the episode of Bill Cosby, when Bill Cosby goes to the dealership with Theo, and he's dressed like a bum, and Theo announces to the car dealer that he's a doctor. Well, I was planning to dress like a bum and go to the car dealership with a box full of cash and just slide it on top of the car and just say, give me that, I'm out, okay? And my brother knows that story very well, because we still laugh about it today. However, it didn't quite happen that way, and we'll touch on that another time. So again, like I said, we were tired of being sick and tired. So being tired of sick and tired led us to being more disciplined, committed, we sacrificed, and we focused. So what we did is we started keeping a ledger. And one of our buddies was keeping a ledger at the time, and I don't know if he still keeps a ledger, but he was keeping a ledger. So I was learning from him, like, you know, we would go places, and I see him take out this little notepad, and he would start writing down his spending. So if you guys are into buying, get yourself one of those little flip notepads and start keeping track of your spending, because that's what helped for us. So after we started keeping track of our spending, we noticed that it was out of hand. And we were watching shows like, I don't know if you guys remember Susie Orman, and I was trying to wrap my head around some of her concepts. Like, one of her concepts was like, pay off the lowest interest credit card first and then snowball it, because that's the way that it should be able to pay off faster. But I don't know if we owed just way too much money, but for me it wasn't working. You know, I couldn't really wrap my mind around what she was saying. So what we ended up doing is we ended up taking out a personal loan with the credit union and consolidating everything. Because for one, there's a saying that a person who chases 2 rabbits catches none. The person who chases 1 rabbit should catch that one. So we couldn't go through the trouble of chasing down all the credit cards that we owed, all the car notes that we owed, and the rest of all the frivolous debt that we were into. So I figured if we compile it into one, we can focus and get it done that way. So we got the loan, because our credit we never had like bad credit, but we did have debt. Okay, so we was able to get the loan, and this was before debt consolidation was the thing. Okay, so we kind of created our own debt consolidation in the form of a personal loan out of our own mind. So when we got the loan, we automated the payments. And when we automated the payments, that was like the best thing, because out of sight, out of mind, you just know it's coming out of your check. You know how much is coming out of your check at the time, and you know how much you have to sacrifice. And speaking of sacrifice, one of the things to this day that I think I'm kind of embarrassed about it, but especially being the man of the house, but you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So one of the things that we sacrificed was we were eating, and you know, I'm pretty sure none of my friends really know this, and maybe my mom might know it, but we were eating rice and canned corn for dinner every night. Okay, so we had me and my wife, and I'm feeding my daughter canned corn every night. So basically, when you open, a canned corn was like, what, 60 cents for a can back then?
Probably like 25 cents back then.
So, I mean, you talk about, feeling like less than a father when you can't put meat on your child's plate and you can't give your child what they want to eat. At that point, I said, this wasn't my intentions of a father. So, that's pretty much how we got out of debt the first time. We consolidated. Well, we wrote down the problem. We made a plan. We stuck to the plan. We tracked our savings and we sacrificed. Okay, so that's how we got out of debt the first time. We had 2 bouts with debt. Okay, so our second bout with debt was because of school loans. And I don't know how many people watching this have school loans, but our experience with Sally Mae was she is as bad as credit cards. Okay, so in order for us to clear up Sally Mae, and we thought getting school loans was going to be an investment versus a pain, right? So when we got the school loans, so my education, let's get something straight. My formal education, I didn't pay for. I got scholarships for. Okay, but when it was the education that I was getting outside of my formal education, because I'm in information technology, I was taking like extra classes in order to try to fill my resume, just to make sure that I got a job, just going the extra mile to make sure that I got a job. And by that time, I think I must have paid about $4,000, which I think that's like $6,000 in today's money, for 2 classes, right? The Oracle class? Okay. So we were trying to pay back Sally Mae. She had student loans for when she was going to school. So we have all of these student loans, and as we were paying them, it seemed like we weren't making progress. So what we ended up doing was just finding a whole new way of living altogether. So if you guys were on the last live session, you know that I told the story about me having a blood clot in my leg. So when I had the blood clot in my leg, I was on my deathbed at that time, and I was bedridden. I was bedridden. I couldn't move out of the bed. Okay, so all I could do was watch TV. While I'm watching TV over and over again, I'm watching this infomercial, and Carlton Sheets was coming through on the infomercial over and over again. And I would see some of the people on there and hear their stories, and come to find out later on, one of the people in that infomercial ended up being my dentist's wife. So you talk about how small of a world it is. So I'm watching this infomercial, and it has people from around the country, and one of them I just happened to bump into that person. So at that time, I'm just like, it must be fate. Okay, so I ordered the course the first time. The course was $150. I got scared after I read it, and I sent it back. And then after a while, again, we got tired of being sick and tired. And for whatever reason, Carlton Sheets kept coming back to my mind. So I ordered the course again, and I said, this time I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to stick to it. So while I'm sticking to it, and going through the course over and over again, we had our second daughter, and we had our third daughter. So for those of you who have kids, know that kids don't come cheap, right? You have daycare, you got to support them, they eat, they got Pampers and all this stuff, so they don't come cheap. So I'm thinking, there's got to be another way, there's got to be an additional way. So we decided to get into real estate because once again, we were tired of being sick and tired. So what ended up happening when we got into real estate is I was listening to Carlton Sheets, and one of the things Carlton Sheets talks about is being creative financing, and no money down. So when we got into real estate, I had my brother write me a check so we can close our first deal that we found, which was a foreclosure up in Connecticut. And she took some money from her 401k. And we knew that we were going to pay it all back like right away. So basically, when we took that money out, we ended up paying that back through credit cards again. So I took cash from the credit cards because I didn't want to have her 401k tied up. And I told my brother that I was going to give his money back right away. So I ran the numbers, and I'm just like, well, as long as we can pay, what we need to pay on the credit card, then we're good. As long as we can pay what we need to pay on the mortgage on those houses, we were good. And as long as we were having some type of cash flow coming out of those houses, we were good. So we did the simple math, and it ended up working. So as we got into real estate, our first deal, we ended up selling about 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So our first deal we sold about 4 years later, and we made about $100,000 off that deal at the closing table. That doesn't include all the cash flow that we had between the time we purchased it, fixed it up, and then actually sold it. Okay, so we made $100,000, and then we ended up buying more properties with that $100,000, because there's rules that if you don't buy properties within a certain amount of time, you will get taxed a certain amount. So we tried to avoid taxes. In the meantime, we wanted to continue to pursue our investment opportunities. So at the end of the day, when you think about the money that we took out and paid back, we basically had none of our own money into any of our real estate deals, which means when we go and we calculate our return on investment, you can't calculate it because it's called an infinite return. Okay, so now we're going to get into the magic of real estate. For those, and we're not telling people that they should get into real estate, but we're just saying what worked for us. Okay, mm-hmm. So do you want to talk about some of the best deals that we had? Well, we've done some flips. We've done a couple rehabs, and again, this was none of our own money. It was a matter of being creative. So, what was?
Well, I think the first one was probably the most lucrative one, but the condo that we did, because that wasn't our own money either. Remember, we worked with family to get that one.
Okay.
And we were able to sell that one.
Okay. So the condo deal she's talking about is we basically had 3 people in on the deal. We had us, we had my brother and his wife, and then we had the seller. So we put the deal together. We get paid for putting the deal together, setting up the rehab folks to come in and do the fix up, and then my brother sends the money for the rehab, and then the person that's selling the house just held the house until it was time to sell. So we basically made about $15,000 just to put a deal together. Mm-hmm. Okay, on that deal. Again, no money out of our pocket. Okay, and my brother was happy because all he did was write a check, and we sent him back his money plus an additional $5,000, and that was after 2 months. So he was very happy, and him and his wife were calling, waiting to do the next deal. I can tell you, one of my favorite deals was a deal that was in New Britain, and what ended up happening is, if you guys know about the houses in New Britain, they're old, the floors are kind of crooked. So there was the guy that sold the house, we're just like, when you're ready to leave everything behind that you don't want, and we'll move everything out. Because that's how it is in real estate. Because you get a better deal when you give them a hassle-free situation. So the guy left, and we're out the house one Saturday, and I'm upstairs cleaning up the house. She's downstairs cleaning up the downstairs, and I'm moving the sofa around, and I see this envelope under a sofa, under the foot of a sofa, and I'm thinking, wow, these houses in New Britain are pretty crooked, so you had to put an envelope under the sofa leg in order to keep it intact. So I moved the sofa over, and I pick up the envelope with intentions to throw it into the garbage, and then I feel that it is kind of like a cushiony pad. So I open up the envelope, and I see all these $100 bills. So I look at it, I don't count it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm stunned, I'm shocked. I'm just like, what happened here? What did the universe just send me? So I run downstairs, I call her to the car, and I'm just like, babe, you gotta check this out. She's like, what's happening? And and the thing about it is, you couldn't be too loud about it because the house was in the hood, okay? This house was in the hood of the hood, okay? So I take her to the car, we open it up and it's $5,000, all $100 bills, cash money. So if you guys are into real estate at all, especially if you're watching this and you're in real estate, whatever you do, check underneath every sofa, check under every carpet. Don't throw anything away blindly, because you never know, there's treasures everywhere, okay? So so that's the magic of real estate. We got tired of being sick and tired. We refinanced everything in order to get out of the student loan debt. And when we refinanced everything, we had other people at that point paying for that debt. So when I say virtually debt-free, this is what I mean. Our debt is more in the lines of real estate, which is in a form of what most people would consider to be a 401k. So we have other people paying what is our equivalent to a 401k, okay? Because they're called tenants, while most people pay their own 401k. So I think the deal is better for me to hold on to an asset that we control 100%, and all we had to do was pretty much put our name on the line, put some elbow grease in, and exercise some patience, and then have the cash flow. So for you guys that think cash is king, there's a saying, cash is king. However, the truth is cash flow is king. So the cash flow you want to have coming over and over again, okay? So again, we went back to writing things down, because the second time that we thought we had it, and we went back to writing things down, and this time technology was in our favor, because Microsoft came out with Excel. So and we thank God for Excel, because that definitely puts things in front of you the way that you need to see your numbers. So I mean, we're able to do our rental properties, we're able to do our expenses, our own mortgages, and you know, our paychecks that we're getting from our regular work. So just to let you guys know that real estate can be very magical in more ways than one. Not just the money that you make when you flip, also the gems that you can find inside the houses that you flip. So keep that in mind if you're looking into real estate. So the next thing is living paycheck to paycheck. So when we were going through our first bout with debt, like I mentioned earlier, we couldn't wait for Friday to come. When Friday came, check was spent, okay? And it was one of the most frustrating things that you could imagine. So after having issues with not having a dime left, and knowing that when Friday came, it was gone, again, you get tired of being sick and tired. So what real estate did, and what real estate does for us now, is it helps us not live paycheck to paycheck. And what I mean by that is we can go, and I was talking to her about this earlier, trying to really figure it out. We can go, most likely, especially if we dumb down our lifestyle, we can go probably about 4 or 5 years until we needed our next paycheck, okay? And that's no exaggeration, because again, like I mentioned earlier, our money is fake. And when you have fake money and you have a decent credit score, people will come out of the woodwork and you will get what you want very easily, very simply, okay? So that's paycheck to paycheck. We don't really worry about that, because the tenants definitely, the ones that we have, they pay on time. We have very good tenants. And also we leverage technology, so we're able to control an asset from afar by having technology in our favor. So if you guys are watching this from Connecticut, my investor friends, use technology in your favor. It will save you a lot of time. So now we're going to talk about credit. So after having a bout with credit, and keeping in mind that we are teenage parents, we are not supposed to be here. So for you guys that are not familiar with credit scores go from like 550 to 850. Okay, 850 is the top. So we ended up paying all of our things on time, automating everything, and as of December 2018, we finally hit an 850 credit score. Now our credit score hovers around 846. And I'm gonna tell you, it makes your life much easier when you have that credit score in your favor. And I'll give you some examples. Is when I call people, they start out with calling me sir, and then when they run my credit, all of a sudden I turn into Mr. Allen. Okay, so you talk about numbers that can definitely make you feel special. Your credit score is definitely one of them that will put you in that position. And it's not about becoming a millionaire for us. It's about having options for us. Okay, even though we have our net worth is getting up there. It's still about having options more so than having the money. Okay, because what options do is you can go in and you can just say, I want that, I want that, I want that, and that's what having a great credit score can do for you. I can tell you, one time I went to the Volkswagen dealership, and the guy, again, this is one of the things, like I said, I was dressed kind of down like Bill Cosby, because I don't want people to think that you got money, so you play the game. And the guy, I was negotiating all that I could with the guy at that was selling me the car. So when he ran the credit, when his finance manager ran the credit, the next day I came back to pick up the car, and the guy said to me, he says, we were supposed to offer you 2 more cars. So do you want 2 more cars off the lot? Which cars do you want? And I'm like, where'd that come from? I came here for 1 car. But he said, the manufacturer that was given the credit, it was same as cash. And again, this is where great credit comes in, because you get things same as cash. I know people say, well, why would you have a car note? Well, we would have a car note because even though a car is a depreciating asset, we have cash flow, we have real estate, tax benefits to pretty much erase that. But then again, the cars come in same as cash, and at that time that guy was giving me an option to get
0%.
3 cars off the lot. Of course it's 0%.
It was 0%.
So and that's pretty much it. So on our next live session, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the box. But we're going to talk about money and marriage. We're going to talk about bringing home the bacon. We're going to talk about being the head of the household, because we know some people in relationships, money is always an issue, right? And especially for a guy, it's important for a guy to truly be the head of the household. It's important for a guy to be the one bringing home the bacon. But we'll get into it in the next live on how things worked in our relationship. And we'll get into also how we budget our money. And this is where we're going to be talking about how we afford our vacations, how we do a bunch of other things that we like to do, including Missy Fu here getting certain purses and wallets that she likes. And so, all right. So if you guys don't have any questions, we thank you for joining us this evening. Hopefully we made it quick. If you guys have any questions about budgeting, you guys can reach out to us. But like I said,
Or real estate.
Yeah,
I mean,
real estate.
We didn't really talk too much about our sacrifices, but it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into those properties.
But when you got the checks, it was worth it, right?
Lots of tears. But we made it.
Yeah, we made it. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Hopefully you guys will join us on the next live. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us individually behind the scenes. We appreciate you guys reaching out to us, and we will talk to you in the next live.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
Nene, can you go shopping spree with me anytime? No. No, Cousin Vera, no, she cannot go shopping with you.
No, that's not what she's saying. Can I go on a shopping spree anytime
Anytime
I
you
want
want
to now?
Oh,
Yes.
oh. So, cause I think that was guess.
Just for all you ladies out there, Julian has this thing with the credit card. Whenever I buy anything, they send him a message, and he's like, "Oh, I see you went to such and such." I'm like, "Wait, what are they doing? They're not supposed to be sending you anything."
All right, Wanda, thanks for joining
Bye,
us.
Wanda. Thank you.
All right, take care, everybody. Love you guys.
Bye, Vera.
Bye, cousin.